Hi, this is DHDI Profiles. My name is Lauren Gaw, and I'm here with CJ Vanston today. He is a musician, a composer, a producer. You've done so many things. How would you like to describe your career?
Manic, ADD, insane.
Great. So this is CJ Vanston. He's manic, ADD, and insane.
It's true. It's true. I'm a therapist, wet dream, basically.
All right.
Yeah. No, I've done a little bit of everything. I started out playing live in bands. Actually, I started out playing classical competitions.
Oh.
And then got in bands.
So
Discovered funk music and clubs and did that. Then became a studio musician and went on from there.
That sounds like an exciting place. Do you remember the first instance where you wanted to get into music?
Yeah, my father was a jazz piano player. He still is. And his club, my parents split up when I was very young. And so his club he played, he had an apartment above the stage.
Okay.
So I grew up kind of hanging out above the stage, like 4 years old, and he would shut me in the room and go down and play his sets.
Really?
So, yeah, it was a trip. But yeah, I started hanging around musicians at an early age, and I always dug the vibe of the tribe, you know. I like musicians, and then watching him play, you know, he's a genius, and I said, that's what I want to do, so.
Really?
Yeah.
Were there any other musicians that you met when you were a kid and you're like, I want to be just like him? Besides your dad, of course.
Well, you know, I grew up in Michigan. There was really no famous musicians there, and I remember on break, the band would come upstairs, and Stan Kenton was a big band guy, and I must have been 4 or 5 years old, and there's the album cover with Stan Kenton's photo on it, and there's Stan Kenton, and for me, I just couldn't put the celebrity thing together, so he had his whole band with them, and I watched them. You know, it's my first time really meeting a celebrity, and as I watched them, I said, this is bullshit. Because if these guys are so famous...
You said that when you were 4 or 5 years old?
I did.
This is bullshit.
I said, if these guys are so famous, how come they can't afford their own cigarette?
Oh.
Why do they have to share a cigarette?
Oh my God. Why? I don't know why. Can you tell me?
It wasn't a cigarette they were sharing.
I get it now.
See? It's a joke. It's actually not a joke. That really happened.
Yeah, I believe
But we're sitting
you.
there going, why do they have to share a cigarette? They were, you know, smoking weed.
That's amazing.
So, yeah.
With you in the room?
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, Dad.
You get a contact high?
Sorry, Dad. No, that happened later because they would put it in the oven when they went down to play because weed back then was like heroin. I love that we're starting with drugs.
Why not?
This is great.
We're
this
just
is
jumping
great.
right in. Wait,
Drugs.
I've never heard
we'll
of
go
this.
backwards.
Why do you
Drugs,
put it in the
then
oven?
sex, and then music.
Right.
So they put it in the oven to hide it because back then
Oh, to hide it.
weed was like heroin. You know, it was really.
Right.
And so again, locked me in the room, and they went down to play, and they're playing, and all of a sudden somebody says, "There's somebody smoking weed in the club. Who would do that? Who would smoke weed?" Oh my God! And oh, shit! Dad runs up, opens the door, and looks down, and I'm like, "Hi, Dad."
No way.
And I'd turn on the oven, just messing around, and you know, a pound of weed. And
No way.
the rest is history. That
That's
was
hilarious.
kind of what hooked me.
Oh my gosh.
Oh boy.
Do you have any other drug stories you want to throw in before we move
Drug
on to the
story?
sex and rock and
Do
roll?
I have any other drug stories? Oh my God.
That's the order we're going in, right?
Oh my God.
Well,
Yeah.
you said you grew up in Michigan.
I
How'd
did.
you end up in Los Angeles?
I escaped from Michigan.
Congratulations.
I went to Chicago, wanted to be a studio musician,
Okay.
and I became one. I kind of went to the top. You know, I was first call keyboard player for 10 years there, and did what we were doing jingles, you know.
Oh.
I was making the sound of shrimp flying through the air in slow motion for Red Lobster or whatever.
Well, how do you make that sound?
Don't even remember, but I got very bored of it after a while. It was a great training ground. I shouldn't say that because, you know, you had to play every style. You had to play jazz and country and everything and sight read everything with the musicians in the room. So it was a great training ground, but after a certain point, I thought I didn't get this good to, you know, make shrimp fly.
To be doing jingles?
Yeah, yeah. And so I came out to LA to make records, and that was 1988. I I think this Halloween that'll be 30 years.
Wow, happy anniversary.
Yeah.
How long were you in Chicago doing the
10.
Jingles? 10 years.
Yeah. 40-year career.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I was 4 when I started.
Yeah, obviously. Like, once you got high, you're like, this is what I want to do. Did you study music?
Yeah,
Did you go
I
to
studied
school for
classical when I was a kid and competed classically. And
music? You still have those trophies on your mantle?
the Who's?
The trophies from your competitions.
I don't. I don't know where those are.
Oh my God.
But, those trophies, I always memorized the music. And one competition, I think I was 13, the lady goes, "Where's your music?" I said, "I never use music." She goes, "Well, you can't remember, just from your memory."
Why
and I'm
not?
like, "I can't." And then halfway through,
Oh no, you forgot.
I stopped. She
Oh,
put that in my head. And so I went outside and then I said, I want to go back in there again. And I went back in and I zinged it and got a first place. So I got to find that trophy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I wanted to get out of that. Playing dead people's music didn't appeal to me. I wanted to create.
You wanted to create music.
Yeah.
So when you moved to LA, is that what you started doing?
Yeah, fantastic. I love this city. This is the center of the universe for music.
It
Period.
is,
in my opinion. The level of creativity in this town is amazing, and the musicians, it's the peak. It's the top. So, yeah, I love being here. And I did 300 or 400 albums. Started scoring movies, but started wanting to be a producer.
Right.
And
How did your career evolve into doing all these different things?
mostly, this sounds rude, but watching people do it badly.
Oh.
Like I worked with legends, legendary engineers, legendary producers, legendary musicians. But I worked with a lot of really bad engineers, a lot of really bad producers, a lot of bad songwriters.
Oh man.
And I just thought I can do that, I can do that better.
Yeah, and you did.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I don't know about better, but I thought I could. And it was just a desire to bring that side of myself out that I never had the chance to do that when I was back in Chicago. But I knew I had the chops. And so, once you move into that, it's kind of hard to go back to being a session player, which doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway, I caught the tail end of the session musician wave in LA, and for that I'm eternally grateful. When I just moved here, I'm working every day with people like Jim Keltner and Jeff Porcaro and Steve Lukather and Lee Sklar and Bissonette, Michael Thompson, these legendary players, and producers like Phil Ramone and Al Schmidt, Ed Cherney. Just a lot of great people.
Yeah.
And that's something that's really gone right now. Moving around from studio to studio is something that doesn't exist. We would be in 3 different studios in a day, working with 3 different engineers and 3 different producers and 3 different sets of bands. So you see different ways of doing things that I think a lot of kids don't get to see that today.
Right.
Kind of bummed about that. So, yeah.
How do you think that the music industry is looking for these kids today? Do you have any advice for them?
I think it's incredibly promising. I wouldn't want to be a kid right now.
Okay.
Because it's very difficult. When I was 17, I borrowed, I think, $10,000 from my mom's credit union
Okay.
to get a bunch of keyboards. So I looked it up. That would be like $82,000 today.
Wow.
So imagine being 18 years old, and the only way I paid it back was playing in clubs.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's impossible to do today. So I feel for these kids because, a lot of them have to work a job, 2 jobs that isn't
Right.
in music.
Right.
And then that's their time to work on music. Whereas that's all I ever did was music, period.
Yeah.
So, but that being said, streaming is the answer. My thing about streaming is you never hear anybody in the movie industry complain about Netflix, right? And movies cost 100 times what a record costs to make. So how come that's okay? And the reason why is it hasn't scaled yet. If I do these things at AES or NAMM, and I'll say, how many people out there have Netflix? And everybody raises their hand. And I
Right.
say, how many people have Spotify? 6 hands. How many Apple Music?
I got both.
5.
Not Apple Music.
Yeah. And so the point is it hasn't scaled yet. When it does, it's going to be insane. And the ability for bands to see, hey, there's a town in Bulgaria that loves our music. Let's book our tour through there. To be able to look at all the, analytics is just incredible. So it's going to be another 5 years, but it's going to be an awesome time, very empowering. And the labels, will be very different, which, I think the labels have taken so much from so many artists. It's going to be a fresh time. Very excited.
Besides streaming, where else do you see the future of the industry going?
Live performance on the internet, live streaming video, concerts. So
We should be doing this as a live stream.
I thought that's what it was.
What? Oh, man.